In the early 1960s, the Cold War had become more than a race between two superpowers. It had become a race to understand the unknown. Every strange light in the sky, every unexplained radar contact, and every mysterious radio transmission was viewed through the lens of national security. Governments feared that the next breakthrough, whether technological or extraterrestrial, could shift the balance of power forever. Among the many classified ideas imagined during this era, one alleged project stands out above the rest. It wasn't designed to destroy enemy aircraft or intercept missiles. Instead, its goal was far stranger. Its mission was simple, yet almost unbelievable. What if UFOs weren't hiding from us? What if humanity simply didn't know how to make them appear? According to this, the answer led to a top-secret program known as Project Mirror Sky. The story begins in the Nevada desert during the summer of 1962. Far from public roads, beyond military checkpoints, and surrounded by miles of empty land, engineers constructed an unusual research station. Unlike ordinary radar facilities, this complex wasn't meant to track aircraft. Its massive circular antennas pointed toward the upper atmosphere and deep space, waiting for something no one could see. Officially, the installation tested advanced radar technology for missile defense. Unofficially, a small team of physicists believed they had discovered a pattern hidden within years of military radar records. Whenever unidentified flying objects were reported, strange distortions appeared moments earlier. The anomalies weren't visual. They appeared as tiny fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, signals so weak that most operators dismissed them as equipment errors. But one scientist refused to ignore them. Dr. Raymond Keller, a theoretical physicist assigned to classified defense research, proposed a radical idea. He believed advanced spacecraft might not travel through space in the conventional sense. Instead, they could manipulate gravity itself, bending electromagnetic waves around them. If that theory were true, radar wasn't simply detecting objects. Radar was interacting with them. Keller believed these interactions created what he called gravitational reflections, echoes that briefly connected ordinary space with whatever field surrounded an unknown craft. Most of his colleagues rejected the theory. The military did not. In the tense atmosphere of the Cold War, even an unlikely idea deserved investigation if it offered a strategic advantage. Within months, funding was quietly approved. Project Mirror Sky officially began. Unlike traditional radar stations that emitted short pulses, the new system combined multiple high-powered radar arrays into a synchronized network. Engineers designed the equipment to produce overlapping electromagnetic waves at carefully calculated frequencies. The objective wasn't detection, it was invitation. Scientists believed that if UFOs naturally interacted with these fields, broadcasting the correct pattern might encourage them to reveal themselves. The first series of tests produced nothing unusual. The radar systems functioned perfectly. Weather balloons, aircraft, satellites, and even migrating birds appeared exactly as expected. There were no mysterious objects, no unexplained visitors. Some officials prepared to cancel the program. Then everything changed during test number 12. On the evening of October 3, 1962, operators activated all radar arrays simultaneously for 12 uninterrupted minutes. The equipment recorded no incoming aircraft, no weather systems, no satellites. Yet every display screen suddenly filled with unfamiliar echoes. The signals appeared from every direction at once. They did not move like airplanes. They did not behave like radio interference. Instead, they formed complex geometric patterns across the radar displays, almost as though something invisible had reflected the broadcast back toward Earth. The operators initially believed the equipment had malfunctioned. Engineers shut down every transmitter. The strange signals remained. For another 37 seconds, The patterns continued appearing even though the radar itself was no longer transmitting. Then they vanished. Technicians spent weeks inspecting every circuit, cable, and antenna. Nothing was damaged, nothing was wrong. The equipment had worked exactly as designed, yet no scientific explanation could account for echoes appearing after the transmitters had been turned off. The project entered a new phase. Researchers no longer believed they were attempting to attract unidentified craft. Instead, they feared they had awakened something already watching. Over the following months, increasingly unusual events surrounded the facility. Electronic clocks drifted by several seconds each day despite careful calibration. Magnetic compasses spun unpredictably. Sensitive instruments registered brief changes in local gravity that lasted only fractions of a second. Most disturbing of all were the reports from personnel working overnight. Security guards described seeing faint lights silently hovering above the desert before disappearing without accelerating. Radar technicians occasionally heard unexplained tones through their communication headsets. The military ordered another full-scale experiment. This time, the radar arrays would operate at maximum power. The date chosen was November 18th, 1962. Just after midnight, technicians initiated the sequence. The antennas slowly rotated into position. Power climbed steadily. At full output, the entire station hummed with energy. For nearly 2 minutes, nothing happened. Then, every monitoring instrument recorded the same impossible event. Instead of reflecting radar waves outward, something appeared to return a perfectly synchronized signal from above. Not delayed, not distorted, identical, as if an invisible transmitter had copied every pulse and sent it back instantly. The return signal carried something unexpected. Embedded within the reflected waves was a repeating numerical sequence. At first glance, it resembled random data. Computer specialists spent weeks analyzing the pattern before noticing an extraordinary detail. The sequence contained mathematical relationships based on prime numbers and irrational constants, arranged with a precision far beyond normal electronic noise. Some researchers believed it was simply an unknown natural phenomenon. Others wondered whether it represented an intentional response. No conclusion was ever reached. Following the experiment, unusual electrical disturbances reportedly spread beyond the research site. Civilian radio operators hundreds of miles away described bursts of static unlike anything they had experienced before. Amateur astronomers reported brief flashes crossing otherwise empty sections of the night sky. None of these incidents could be conclusively connected to Project Mirror Sky, but together, they deepened the mystery. Concerned that further testing might produce unpredictable consequences, senior officials ordered all future experiments suspended. The radar arrays were dismantled, equipment was transferred to other military installations. Research files were divided among several classified archives. Project Mirror Sky officially ended before the close of 1962. Yet one unanswered question continued to haunt the small team that had witnessed the strange reflections. What if the experiment never attracted anything at all? What if the radar simply revealed that something had always been there? Perhaps the mysterious echoes weren't responses from distant spacecraft. Perhaps they were reflections from a hidden layer of reality, one that ordinary instruments were never intended to detect. Maybe the sky was never empty.